I'm not going to talk about it. We suppress it, right? So I think that in and of itself creates this stigma where, as we become adults, to your point, like I can go to the gym, that's cool, I could work out, I can learn how to do all these different things. Like you said, I have an issue with my car, let me just go to the mechanic and maybe even learn how to fix my own car, right? Or if you get into cars like that. But when it comes to your mental health, depending on where you come from, what culture you're from, it may be one of those things like taboo and we won't talk about it. So it naturally creates this idea of, I'll just figure it out, whatever, right? Um, Also, I'll add to that I think there's a lack of representation in a sense. Like there's you said earlier that sometimes we just don't talk to other people about our problems, right? So
Right.
if let's just say that I do gather the courage as a male, right? I'm a
Right.
young man, and let's just say that I do gather the courage to talk about my heartache, for example. It's one of the most common things.
Right.
I decide to get into a therapist office. I pull up, and no offense, right? But I pull up, and it's like an older white lady, and it's like, ah, man, I don't want to talk to this lady about my problems. Like, what is she gonna know about man's issues, right? So that can also create more barriers, right? So there's a lack of representation, especially for minorities, which I know you haven't asked this, but that's one of the reasons that I want to really make some shake in this field, and besides using encouragement and charisma and things like that, I want to let other people know that as a male coming from a minority, it is okay to talk about these things, and hopefully that'll allow people to embrace the challenge, right?
Read my mind, man. That's one of the things I love about
Mm-hmm.
Lee. He's always one step ahead. Absolutely. I think like fundamentally, it's just with our generation, man. I think you just got you want to. It's sometimes it's not even about the messenger. Sometimes it's the
Mm-hmm.
messenger, not the message. And I
Right.
think with that, I think too, when we talk about like our feelings, those are the most intimate things, like our thoughts, our dreams, our
Mm-hmm.
goals, like those are all very, very intimate. And like to your point, like as a minority man, like you want someone who like gets you on some aspect. And like to your point, that's no offense by any means, but someone who's maybe of a different generation, different culture, like just grew up different, they're not gonna like level set with you. Versus if
They're not gonna
someone who
relate
like,
as much.
yeah,
Yeah.
if someone who grew up similar, okay, like I know what you mean. Like I get where you're coming from. Like I don't have to explain it. Like you know exactly what it means. It's like, yeah, I had that talk with my folks or someone where it's like, I'm a little heated. Like you get why, and so I think that's super important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but with them, I think, how do you feel like in your own process, right? You've found the courage to like, be more real with your feelings. Because I think too, unfortunately, I think social media has a lot of great positives, man. But I think sometimes
Right.
we just assume that, that, hey, like everyone else's life is a highlight reel, they're on. I know you love sports too. It's like, I'll use a 2K reference. Like everyone is a 99 or like 100. Like they don't miss any
Right.
shots. They close every deal. They never get rejected by a girl if they ask someone to date. Like just they don't
Mm-hmm.
miss. Like like they really. But in reality, that's not the case. And people only show what they want you to see. So I guess, how do you feel like people can navigate that better? Because I feel like, again, social media is not going anywhere, and I think it's, if anything, it's really, really,
Mm-hmm.
starting to influence folks in like a really young age compared to before.
Right. Right. It's crazy how much social media is influencing, right? Like, especially the younger generation. But yeah, man, how can they navigate it? Well, I'll say this: you have to increase your self-awareness. And I know that's a big mental health term, but all it really is just understanding what social media is. Uh, we all know about filters, right? When people say take selfies and you add a filter, like you're trying to put your best foot forward, you're trying to put the best angle forward, and I get it. If we're gonna post something online to make it public, I mean, it has to be the best product, right? And I think when it comes to social media influencing our thoughts, we have to be very careful. We have to understand that just because we see, I'll use myself as an example, right? If my goal one day is to be married, right? I want to find my wife. I want to have my family. and I open social media and then I see a couple on there. It's Valentine's week, right? So we know we're gonna see
Right.
a bunch of those posts lately, right? Or the next couple of days, which is fine.
Yep.
I'm not mad at it. But if I see a very happy couple that looks happy, right? It's very easy for me to try to fill in the gaps and be like, oh man, why can't I have that? And I want a wife too, but bro, you just never know what they may be going through. They may just be posing for the picture, and
Right.
they may have some issues going on, and and I don't think it's a secret that relationships are very hard.
Yep.
But if a lot of people know that relationships are difficult, then why are we prone to seeing a couple and then we're like, oh, I want that too? Well, just take it for what it is. Use it as an inspiration. So it really comes down to perspective. So that's my next one. First is becoming self-aware that what you see may not always be real. And then also having the perspective that what you may be feeling may not always be the true picture, right? Like just because I feel lonely doesn't mean that I am a loner. It's just a feeling, right? So learning how to process our emotions, having a good perspective on things, and then another one is just treating social media for what it is. It's something that you want to engage with, but you don't want to. I know we've heard this a bunch of times. Adi is like real life happens offline, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
like you want to try to eventually disconnect from it.